coffee. How is everybody this morning? I guess it would help if I had my project in my lap. So we are working on another market bag. This will be the last part of the tutorial for this bag. And this bag's just a little bit different than the other ones that I've done. It's basically the same. It's a market bag. But we started with a solid bottom. And this solid bottom is actually a pouch. So you can take this whole bag and you flip your pouch inside out. And then you can stuff this whole bag into this pouch. And yes, it does all fit. And we're not quite done with it yet. So it'll fit even better when we're done with it. So it all fits into this little pouch here. All fits into that granny square. It can be mashed down. The part that we're finishing today is going to be the top part of the pouch that's going to extend up and have a drawstring on it, so that when you open it and you're using the bag, not only will it cinch up so it drawstrings around the bag when it's being stored, but you can use the open part of the pouch with the drawstring on the bottom to hold things, to draw it closed, or you can put the open part of the pouch inside the bag. So inside the bottom of the bag from the inside, you have a little drawstring pouch that you can put things in. So it's going to be like multifunctional. So that's what we're going to work on today. We're going to work on the pouch part. So to begin with, I'm going to flip this and stuff everything back in it. Thank you for all the likes. I apologize if I'm not paying attention and miss anybody. So I'm going to stuff all this back in here just to do the first couple of rounds. Because this is the side I want to work from it. I think it'll be easier for me to work it if I just flip it. Did that backwards. Really did that backwards. There we go. Good morning, Karen. I'm stuffing my bag into my bag. And that's how I'm going to start working. Because with everything stuffed inside, I'm going to start working around the edge. So for any of you guys that are here that have missed the first couple parts of this tutorial, I do have them uploaded to my YouTube channel. Each week I try to pick a different project, and I spend the week doing the project, and it is usually something that I don't have a pattern for that's freehanded, so I kind of go through my thought process how I would freehand things and take your basic motions of holding your yarn, holding your hook, yarning over and pulling through a loop, and making it into something pretty, because it's basically all the same movement. It's just how you sequence it and put it together. Good morning, Samantha. Good morning, Paula. Good morning, everybody that's joining me. So, as a bonus, I found a little bit of extra of this green color yarn, which I'm really excited because I wanted to do a little bit more green on the top here. So, that's what I'm going to start with. So with my bag all mashed down in there, you can see one side is like the flap side, and you can see that the other side is the side where we joined our bag. And you can see the side that we joined our bag, when you're looking at it, it's like the wrong side of the stitches. The right side of the stitches are inside. However, the way we joined our bag, we still have every single stitch free that we can work into when working our rounds around this bag. So you're not going to even worry about those stitches being backwards. It's just kind of the nature of how we put it together so that it would work. Good morning, Diane. And we're just going to work through those stitches the same way we would work through any of our other stitches. So, oh, I was very wrong. This is not the same green. Is this the same green? Yeah, this is what I had left. I might be able to get one more round of this green around here, because I'm just going to single crochet for my first round around. And then, oh, I see my purple, and I see my yellow. Just going to double check, make sure I don't. No, I don't. So I'm going to try, and I am using a 6mm hook. 6mm hook. Focus. It's not going to focus. Oh, come on. 6mm. Good morning. I want to say Horderus, but I'm not sure if it's Horderus or if it's Horder Ace or if it's Ace. Corinne, good morning. Seeing who else joining me. Well, I'm glad you guys are all joining me. All right. So I'm going to take my squares that I stuffed my bag into. And if you haven't seen up to this part, parts 1, 2, and 3 are up on YouTube. And I'm going to just join at a corner, and I'm going to work all the way around. And I do believe I said I had 23 stitches on each side, so let me count. 1, 2, 3. I do. Not that it has to be exact, because when you put this together, it really doesn't have to be exact. We're just going to make this like a little bag that's just going to kind of, we can either carry around like a little bag, or the little bag is going to be inside our market bag or on the very bottom of our market bag. And I had some ideas, because of course my brain is always going. So to begin with, to do this round, I am going to stuff everything in there just so I can see all my stitches on the outside, and this doesn't get in the way. So I'm just going to pick a side, pick a stitch, and I'm going to join with my single crochet, and I am going to work over this end. And to join with your single crochet, you just insert your hook, yarn over and pull through your stitch, yarn over and pull through both loops, and that starts with a single crochet. And I'm just going to single crochet all the way around. just want to build this up a little bit. So I'm just going all the way around. Good morning, Cindy. So we flipped our bag inside so that we can work around, and I'm just working for the first round. And yes, the stitches on one side will be backwards. The stitches on the other side will be the right side. But I am just going to simply, I just joined my yarn, and I'm going to single crochet all the way around in every single stitch. And ignore the mess in the middle. And since I do know how many stitches, I am going to count. But you certainly don't have to. This does not have to be perfect. Try to get in the corner. Again, I'm just going all the way around. While you're doing that, give me 1 second. Hello? Sorry, you have the wrong number. Sorry about that, guys. Good morning, Barbie. I am just, my phone rang and I wasn't sure who it was because I didn't bring it out. And of course, it's another week of chaos. Mom is coming up to hang out for the weekend. And my sister decided she was going to come up just for a day trip on Saturday. So we'll see. Okay, so I might have enough of this green to do another round. This is a good way to judge. If you're doing single crochets, this works for single crochets. Double crochets, I haven't quite figured it out. But if you're doing single crochets and you have like just a little bit of yarn left, and you want to figure out if you have enough yarn to go around this, again, with a single crochet, if you can reach your yarn around it, so that's once. I'm just going to go around the outside because that'll give me a little bit of extra to show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know I'm going to have enough to do another round of single crochet. So the length of your project times 5 will give you approximately enough yarn to do a row of single crochet. So I know I'm going to have enough to do another row, so I'm going to do another row of the green because I like the green. And I don't always join my stitches. And I will weave in this end down the side. I don't usually join my stitches when I'm working in a round. Sometimes I do. Like I will if I'm going to finish off and join another color. Oh, you're welcome. I will if I'm going to finish off and join another color. But since I'm just working the same color, I'm not going to join with a slip stitch. I'm just going to put my first stitch in the first stitch, and I'll just mark it with my stitch marker to keep track, and I will just work around like I'm working in a spiral. And that eliminates the seams. So I'm going to put my first stitch in my first stitch. Yeah, I like the green. And then I'm going to go around. Just one more time. So now, after we've done our square and we've started going and finished our bag, I'm going around this twice now, just with a single crochet. I'm just inserting my hook, yarn over and pull it through, yarn over and pull through both loops, and I'm just going to go all the way around. When I'm done extending the top of this bag up a little bit further, I am going to do some eyelet rounds so that I can put a drawstring in it. So I made it all the way around, exactly to the point where I thought I was going to be. And since I want to save some to do the very top edge, because I kind of wanted to do the very top edge of it in green. If you're going to keep going with the same color, keep going with the same color, don't finish off. But I'm going to finish off and grab my purple because I know that I'm running out of this. So I'm going to just join it with a slip stitch and tie it off to save that little bit. Hang on to that little tiny bit that I have left. I hope I can do my top edge with. Which I should. I should have enough to do my top edge with that. And I'm not doing anything fancy there. I just joined with a slip stitch. I chain 2. Cut with a long enough tail to weave in, and I pull my tail out. And then you can see when if you hold onto your tail and you just kind of take your fingers and you just kind of pull those chain 2s down, it pulls right down into a knot. So all I did was slip stitch and chain 2 and slide my 2 chains down, and it pulls it right into a knot. Alright, so we've done 2 extra rounds around this now. I'm going to grab my purple because I'm going to do a 3rd extra round around it. I am going to extend this up probably at least that much because I want to be able to cinch this together like a little bag that actually sits in the bottom of my market bag. So when I pull my market bag out, if this is, my market bag comes up and around, if this sits in the bottom of my market bag, I want this drawstring, I want to be able to cinch it closed so that I can use this as a pocket if I want to tuck things into and cinch it closed in the bottom without gathering the whole top of this. Like I want at least this part to stay square, and I want enough up here that I can gather it without pulling the very top of the square in too tight. And that way I can have like a little drawstring pouch that's kind of built in sitting at the very bottom of my bag. And I can do that with it on the inside, or I would actually be able to do it on the outside. And I was kind of thinking maybe I could take the drawstring part of it if I wanted it on the outside and put a clip so I could clip it up further. But I don't know, we'll get into all that later. So now we've done 2 extra rows. Just because I want to extend it and I'm out of my green, I'm just going to join another color, and I'm going to, pretty much in the same spot, just join my yarn with a single crochet again and keep going. I'm going to do another 2 rows of just single crochet all the way around, and I am going to crochet in all these ends. So if you changed your color, you really don't have to mark that first stitch because you can see it because it's a different color. If you didn't change your color to go around this next round, just put your stitch marker in your first stitch so you know where your first stitch is. And I'm just going to go all the way around. I stitched over enough of that tail. I'm cutting it off. I can work a little bit faster if I'm not working over the tails because I'm not trying to pay attention to them. Who else is joining? Norma, Glenda. I didn't see Janie pop in. Janie, if you're here, hello. I'm doing the top part of my little drawstring pouch here for my market bag. So far I did 2 extra rounds in the green, and I just changed colors because I know I'm running out of green and I wanted to save the little bit that I had left to do a very top edge. So you don't have to change colors here. I just did it out of yarn convenience. But now that I'm back to the first stitch, when I put my single crochet in that first stitch, because it's the same color again, I am going to mark it, because again I'm not joining because I really don't want that seam. I'm just going to keep working around in spirals. So far this is single crochet row number 3 above the original square. So that we tucked our bag in and we joined our yarn and we just started going around the square with our single crochet, and so far that's 3 extra rows. And I'm going to do, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 extra rows, because I do want this to be like a usable pouch in the bottom of my bag. Or on the bottom of my bag, depending on whether or not I want it on the inside or the outside bottom of my bag. It will be rather unique if it's on the outside. So we'll see if I can manage that. Like I always say, it's your project. I'm kind of showing you my thought process and how I come to the conclusions I come to with the math and the different stitches, but ultimately how you want to put them together, how big, how small, how the colors, it's, you know, as far as your mind wants to take it. And I think I'm going to do one more round after that. That'll be 5 even rounds. For those of you that just jumped in, I'm trying to extend the top of my bag before my eyelets, enough that when I cinch it together with the eyelets, this still kind of stays square right here at this point, and just the eyelets in the very top kind of gather up like a bag. So I'm going to do one more round. That will give me 5 even rounds around the edge. And again, I'm going to take my stitch marker out of the first stitch. I'm not going to join it. I'm just going to single crochet right into that first stitch, replace my stitch marker to keep working in a spiral, and this is now row number 5. So this is like 2 bags in one. And I know I'm working fast, but I think the last thing you want to do is actually just sit here and watch me single crochet all the way around this bag. Or if you're working with me, I'm sorry I'm working so fast. Most of my projects, almost all of my projects, I do with worsted weight yarn in either a 5 or 6 hook, 5 or 6 millimeter hook, because that's usually what everybody has and has in their stash. But you can use anything. And I think if I draw that together, I think I'm going to put one more round there before I put my eyelets, just so when I draw it together it kind of, so I'm going to do a 6th row. So same thing, I'm going to take my stitch marker out of the first stitch. I'm not going to join it, I'm just going to continue working. That's my first stitch, and I'm going to replace it. So this is round number 6. Even. Just all the way around the top of the bag. I have it resting on my leg. It's getting heavy to hold up. And yeah, this looks like this would work. This will work a little bit better for what I have in mind. And when I'm all finished with it, it may not work out the way I want it to work out. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. But the idea is to have a functioning drawstring pouch on the bottom of my bag, whether it's the inside bottom or the outside bottom, as well as having the pouch to hold my bag in to begin with. Okay, so I think that's probably, I don't know, maybe one more round. Just one more round. Are we there yet, Mom? All right, I'm going to work one more round. It's going to be number 7. And it's just simply going to be crocheting around again. And I promise this is going to be the last one, because I'm going to do my eyelet round. So this will be 7 even rounds. And then I'm going to do my eyelet round. So all I did was start working from the open part. I tucked my bag in and I just started working around. And I have 7, I will have 7 extra rounds on top of this. I have to trust the process too sometimes. It will be, but I kind of have a purpose. I want to be able to cinch it while it's inside the bag without like crunching the bag. So I don't know, it may end up being too big, it may not end up being too big, but I am going to cinch it. Alright, so I'm at the very end and I'm going to start my eyelet rounds. So since I'm starting like a totally different stitch pattern to do my eyelet rounds, I am going to join it to that first stitch. And my eyelets are going to be double crochets. So I'm going to double crochet 3, or I'm going to chain 3, and let me see how many stitches I have here. It's always about the math. Blech. 1, 2, 3. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 33, 36, 40, 43, 45. So 45, 9 times 5 is 45. Get my calculator. This is terrible. I'm like so bad. 45 divided by 5, 9. Okay, so I'm going to do one. Actually, I think I'm going to make these half double crochets. So because the eyelets don't need to be that big. So I'm going to chain my 2, and I'm going to count that as my first stitch. So where I joined it, I'm going to count that as my first stitch. And I'm going to half double crochet into the next stitch. That's 2. I'm going to half double crochet in the next stitch. That's 3. And then I'm going to chain 2. That's going to be my 4 and 5. So that's going to be my repeat of 5. I'm going to skip 2. And honestly, you don't have to do the math. You can just kind of go around and make your eyelets, and however they fall, they fall. It's really does not have to be exact. So I did my 3 double crochets. I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to skip 2. So I did my chain 2, skip 2, and this one I'm going to do another half double crochet, and a half double crochet is yarn over, insert into your stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So it's not quite as tall as a double crochet, it's a little bit taller than a single crochet. So yarn over, through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, and through all 3 loops on the hook. That's 2, that's 3. I'm working in multiples of 5, so I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to skip 2. And then I'm going to do 3 more. Chain 2, skip 2, 3 more, chain 2, skip 2, 3 more double crochets, chain 2, skip 2, and 3 more double crochets, chain 2, skip 2, 3 more double crochets, chain 2, skip 2, blah 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 blah. Okay, I'm almost at the end, because you would think with as many times as I've done drawstring bags that I would have my head together, but I never do. So I'm just going to skip those last couple stitches for the moment, and I'm going to take a piece of like waste yarn, and I'm going to weave it through my eyelets. Because I want to make sure when I'm weaving it that they're not going to both come out the same end. So I think I need to get one more. So this, if I do this way, yes, I did half doubles. So if I do this way, if I draw my drawstring back through this way, I have, hold on here. All right, I should be back. Sorry about that. So this one's going to come in to this last eyelet, and then I want it to come back out. So I need to have an eyelet here and an eyelet here. So I'm just going to kind of squeeze that in there to give me 2 more eyelets. That's the way it's coming out at 2 different points. And that's what, oh my goodness. I was listening to an audiobook, and as I'm sitting here doing this live, the audiobook keeps, keeps playing, or starting to play. So I'm going to do my chain 2, and that's 3. I'm just going to do 2 more, and then I'm going to chain 1 and just kind of fudge a small eyelet there. I mean, I could have just taken my oh my god, I don't know why it just keeps playing. And then I'm going to just chain 1 here. So I'm going to squeeze like one extra eyelet in there. And then I'm just going to make sure that it works. So I just kind of like fudged my stitches to get like 1 extra eyelet in there, so that when I put my drawstring in and pull it out of the last eyelet, I have it coming out in 2 different eyelets. Thank you, Cindy. So if you need to so if you need to fudge that last eyelet just a little bit and make it a little bit smaller, just so you get a point where your drawstrings come out two different eyelets, it's okay. Nobody's going to notice that. No one's going to notice it but you. This is making me crazy. Can you guys still hear me if I don't have my mic on? Can you hear me well? Perfect. I was playing an audiobook and it just like, thank you guys very much. And for some reason, as soon as I stop talking, it starts playing the audiobook. So that's why I was a little bit confused there for the past maybe a few minutes. But anyway, so what I did was after I've gone around to make all my eyelets, I put my waste yarn through it just to make sure I'm getting it coming out two different parts of the eyelets. And to do that, I did have to add an extra eyelet, so I did kind of like fudge it a little bit. So I only skipped one stitch there. But again, nobody's going to notice but you, so it doesn't really matter. So at this point, this is where it's going to be cinched up. And at this point, we don't have to stuff our bag in there quite so firmly. So it's not quite so puffy. So it's still, but you can see it's not quite as puffy, and it's not quite as hard to get in there. And I have a second reason for doing that, and I do appreciate you guys all getting back to me and letting me know that. So now that I know that my drawstring is going to fit in there, my eyelets are going to work, I'm going to take my waste yarn out. I'm going to go over this one more time with the same color. So if you're changing colors, thank you very much. So if you're changing colors, which I am going to change colors again, do it after the next row, because it will kind of add like a top and bottom. So if you're doing eyelets, I always start my eyelet row with a base row of single crochet, and then at the top of my eyelet row I always finish with a base row of single crochet in the same color, because that way I would have 1, 2, 3. So my eyelet rows are actually going to be 3 rows. So it's the same color. This would be just if you were going to change colors to make your eyelet rows different. I would always do the same color beneath my eyelet row. I would then do my eyelet row, and then the row right above it I would also do in the same color before I switched colors, because if you don't, you're kind of going to see this chain. So when you put your 2 single crochets in here, you're going to see this chain underneath it, and it's going to be very noticeable that you changed the colors, where you're not going to get like a solid stripe. You're going to see the like chain underneath the stitches. But if you do the next round of your eyelets on top of your eyelets with the same exact color, then it's not going to be, it's going to be a more crisp. Let me show you. So if I were to take my green to go right above the eyelets, and I'll just do a couple stitches and show you. I'm trying to explain it. So if I did my 2 and then my So if I did my eyelets this way, you're going to see where like the green kind of comes over top of the eyelets. So it's not going to look like a perfect, I'm funny about colors. You guys all know that. So the top of your eyelets are going to kind of be funky. But if you do, I should have left that in there. If you do your next round, and since we're changing stitches for this round, I am going to join and chain one and single crochet in the first one, and then single crochet around. Let me do a couple of these eyelets and I'll show you the difference. It completes your eyelet. So that then when you take your... My husband this morning went to kiss me before he left to go to work, and he's like, oh my God, you have your arm wrapped all the way around you. I'm like, sorry. So when you go back around, after you've done your another solid base row with the same color with your eyelet, it is then going to I'm just doing a couple stitches here to show you the color difference. It'll look like you have a complete eyelet that's all purple, instead of your eyelet or buttonhole looking like it's one color on one side and another color on the other side. So if you always start, if you always count your eyelet rows, consider your eyelet rows to be 3 rows. The base row, the row with the holes, and then the top row. Because again, if you just did the top row with your green, and this is just demonstration purposes again, I'll just pull this up. Because if you did that top row with your green, instead of doing another row of purple, just to show you. And if this is the intention, go for it. But so this eyelet, you can see where the green, it's like your buttonholes are 2 different colors. It's like your buttonholes are 2 different colors. But if you do, if you work your eyelets in 3 rounds, a base, the holes, and then the top round, you can see your buttonholes are all the same color. So instead of having like that, where you can see the chain underneath and it looks like you have 2 different colors, you get a solid eyelet with the solid color before changing your colors instead of that. It was easier to show you. So that's why I always do, almost always. Sometimes I change them. Sometimes that's part of my pattern. Like sometimes if I'm doing like something that is just totally eyelets, like this is not just to put a drawstring through, but if I want to make a pattern, I would do my next color, and then I would do my next color. And I mean, it would be, I know, did I just totally over-explain that? I'm sure I did. Either way, I'm going to continue working. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to continue working my 2 in my 2. No, that was a good explanation. I'm going to work my 2 single crochets over my chain 2, and I'm going to work my 3 single crochets over my 3 half double crochets. And you will be able to squeeze it in there. 1, 2, 3, and then 2. You liked it. Okay. So I'm just going to go all the way around with that 3 over top of my 3 double crochets, 2 in my chain 2 spaces, and these are just single crochets again, 3 over top of my 3, 2 over top of my chain 2 space, 3 over my 3 half double crochets, 2 over my chain 2 space, sometimes you kind of have to look for that last stitch. Getting there. I'm almost done. It's just like I fudged those stitches there. I'm just going to kind of fudge those stitches again. Alright, now I'm going to fasten off this color because I'm going to join my next color. Because I want to do my top row with some green. And then I think I'm going to make my drawstring yellow. Should I make my top yellow? Maybe I should make my top yellow and make my drawstring green. Let's sit here and look at it for a minute. I think I am going to make it yellow. I don't know what I did with my yellow though. I had it somewhere. I know, I am the epitome of organization, if you guys have not figured that out yet. Oh, I know what I did with my yellow. I rolled it into a ball, stuck it in my drawer. No, I know I'll definitely have enough green for a drawstring because it's not very big. I know I'll definitely have enough green for a drawstring, but I'm not sure I'll have enough green for 2 more top rows. Because the first top row I'm going to do just a row of single crochet all the way around, and then the next one I'm going to do, and I'm just going to join it anywhere. I like to join in different spaces, that way I don't have like a huge bulky seam where I've woven in all my ends in one point. So I'm just going to go all the way around once with my yellow, doing just my single crochets, weaving over that end. I'm going to cut that off because I think I've crocheted over that far enough. I'm just going to keep going around to get my one solid row. I'm going to crochet right over my tail. Hopefully, the vision in my head is what this ends up being. You know, I say all the time, trust the process. So that's what I'm doing at this point. I'm trusting the process. Because this was a new project for me too. Yep. That's kind of what I was thinking. This is Mom. She's on her way. I have to answer. Hello? I am. All right. Sounds good. All right. Yes. All right. Be careful. Love you too. Bye. Picking up my dad's cigars, and then they're on the way. My dad used to smoke cigars all the time. And then he got to a point when he got older, he just decided he wasn't going to smoke them anymore. He was only going to smoke them when he came up here, and it was his like vacation chill time. So that's like one of the stops that they have to make when they come up. They have to stop to buy Dad's cigars before they get on the highway. Not that he's allowed to smoke in the car. I think should kill him. But he likes to sit up here in the evenings and smoke a cigar. Alright, so I've gone all the way around with my yellow above my eyelets. And I'm going to do just a finishing edge on this. So I am going to slip stitch because I'm going to change my stitches again to join my round. And I'm going to chain one. And I'm going to single crochet into that first one. And I'm just going to do my picots. So I'm a single crochet picot. I think I'm going to do 2. And then I'm going to do 2 more single crochets. 1, 2. So just like a little like scallopy edge. Now you could do just 1 as well. Let's see what 1 looks like. And our picots are just a picot would be, it's one of those things that's easier to look from the other side. Let's see if I can look at my camera and look at my stitch at the same time. I don't know if I can do that, but let's try. Is it going to focus? Okay, so I've done my chain 1. I've done my slip stitch, or I've done my single crochet, and I've done my chain 1. And I'm going to come down through, this is not going to focus. I'm going to come down through the top of the stitch, the front loop only, and then the first bar of the stitch. And then I'm going to draw through and slip stitch all the way through those. And I think that was probably really crappy, so let me just flip my phone around. If I flip my phone around, I know you guys can see it better. Alright. It just seems to focus better when I try to show you guys things this way. So I'm going to do 2 more single crochets. And then I'm going to do a single crochet, chain 1, and then I'm going to bring my hook down through this first front loop and this first bar that's right here. So this loop and this bar. And I have 3 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to pull it through and I'm going to slip stitch it. And then I'm just going to go to the next stitch, and I'm going to single crochet 1, single crochet 2, And then the third one, I'm going to single crochet, chain one, and again through this bar, or through this front loop, and through this bar. So it would be through this front loop right here, and this bar right here on the side. And I'm going to come right down into those just like that. It gives me 3 loops on my hook. And I'm just going to draw through all 3 loops on my hook. So 1, 2, in my third one I'm going to do my picot, however you want to pronounce them, which is my chain one. Then we come down through that front loop in that first bar there, and I'm going to pull through all 3, and then I'm going to do it again. Was that better? I'm sure it was. But I can't stand there and do that whole round like that. You're welcome. I join things like that. When I'd say, if I'm making a project and I say I close, like I would close a picot, that's how I close it. So sometimes if I'm doing leaves, I'll do like a big long chain and come back down and then say I close it like a picot. That's exactly what I do, through that front loop and through that bar there. So I'm just going to go all the way around here. So that was 1, 2, and my third one I'm going to do chain 1 and close it. 1, 2, on my third one I'm going to do chain 1 and close it. Halfway there. I like to finish my edges off like this, just because it makes them look, I don't know, neat. Makes them look a little bit decorative. And this stitch is one of those stitches that it's totally your preference. If you like the way it looks from the right side of your work, and I'll show you what I mean here in a second, then by all means work it from the right side of your work like I'm doing. If you prefer the way it looks when you work it from the wrong side of your work, then work it from, then you, at the round when you're going to do this, just turn and work it from the wrong side, because it does look a little bit different on each side. So, you know, it looks like this on this side, but then it looks like this on this side. So it looks a little bit different on each side. So, you know, depending on how you like it, you can do however you want to do it. And I'm just going to pull those up a little bit, because they will pull up. They scrunch down just from the way you pull the stitches. They don't sit the way they should. So if I pull the stitches, just give each one a little tug. So let's see, I got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I always do like my edges. Even like when I do like my lacy shawls, even if I do like a big edge, like a big scallopy, pretty ornate edge on it, I will still at the very bottom of that edge do my little peacocks, because I like it. It's just one of those things that you're pretty much going to see on just about everything that I have. Okay, so I'm at the end here, and I'm just going to kind of squeeze one right here. And I'm not going to slip stitch to the end. I'm just going to cut this off. I'm going to leave my tail a little bit longer. So I closed my peacock, and instead of slip stitching, I'm going to just pull that end through, and then I'm going to take my tail. I'll show you, just let me get my needle threaded here. Okay, so I finished my round of peacocks, and instead of joining to my round with a slip stitch, I just pulled my yarn through, just through my stitch when I slip stitched it, and I'm just going to take that and just anywhere in the top of that round there and towards the back of the bag, I'm just going to draw my needle down through. So when it pulls my thread down through, it'll pull my peacock over, and I won't get like that bump where I joined my rounds. And then I take it and I knot it on the back. And to knot it on the back, you can just put your hook, if you want to take a smaller hook to knot it on the back, you can just take a smaller hook and insert it under just any thread. So you can just take a smaller hook and just insert it under any thread from any stitch that's close to where your tail is. And then you can pull it up and do your chain 2. Whoops. Of course, because I used a smaller one. So that's 1, 2. So you chain 2, and you just pull your knot down again, so you don't have to worry about actually tying a knot. You can just do your chain 2 around a bar of a different stitch on the back, and then weave in your end. So I'm not going to weave in that end just yet. Give it a little tug there. So that's what I have so far. And I'm going to whip up a chain here real quick so I can thread it through as a drawstring and kind of show you my vision here, like the mad scientist. So I need this to be, I don't need it to be terribly long. I just need it to go pretty much almost maybe 2 inches, maybe an inch wider than all the way around. Now there are different kinds of ways that you can do this. You can make an I-cord, or to do your drawstring, you can make your chain and then just slip stitch all the way back down it if you wanted to do it that way, or you can just make your chain. And this I'm not really counting, I'm just kind of going to measure it. So if I want it to go all the way around, it has to come across the top and back over at least 1 time. So if I fold this in half, so if I fold my chain in half, I know that's going to be actually the perfect fit for that. If I want it to be a little bit longer, I can make it a little bit longer, but you keep in mind when you cinch it, you're going to have a tail on it. So I am not going to finish this off because I'm going to go back and actually work my slip stitches down. Of course I can't find a safety pin. I'm going to work my slip stitches all the way down. Here's a safety pin. So I'm not going to tie off that chain right now. I'm just going to show you, thanks Cindy, how I would and I think I want the drawstring to come out the front. So I want my drawstring to come out let me see where my bag's attached. Okay, so I have my drawstring coming out on the part of the bag that does not have the bag attached. So this part does not have the bag attached. This part does have the bag attached. So I have my drawstring where I'm going to pull it coming out the side that's not attached. And this dog has not been out yet. He actually just crawled his lazy bones out of bed. So I'm sure that's why he's standing here right now. Did I miss something there? I did. Alright, let me let him out real quick. Because he's getting old and he won't work for it. I'm good, Rachel. How are you? Let's go. Charlie. Go. Go. Good boy. Alright, I missed an eyelet. I was so worried about the dog, I missed an eyelet. I'm almost there. How are you today, Rachel? Okay. So I have my drawstring, and I really don't want it to be much bigger than that because I just want to be able to put a, I am going to put a cord lock on there. And a cord lock is, in here somewhere. I have a bag of them. Oh, here they are. Oh, I have a light purple one. So I'm going to thread my ends through my cord lock so that you can cinch it and lock it. So you could cinch it and lock it if you wanted to. So that would be like our pouch. So if we want to carry like our bag with us, so if I'm going to the flea market, which I might end up doing over the next couple of weekends, I can just take my bag with me and hang it off my purse or just carry it around my wrist or whatever I want to do with it until I buy something and need to put something in it. And then I'm actually going to try to put a knot in this. I know I have my, just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Oh, maybe I'll just pin it together so you can see my vision. I'll just pin the ends together. And Wolf wants in. Of course he does. And then I'll show you my vision. Yeah, I like to put cord locks on things. Or you can just... Come on. Go. I hope you left the steps and did what you needed to do, Mr. Charles. Sir Charles. Or you can just tie it. But I'm going to put a cord lock on this because when I open it up, and I pull my bag out. Let's see, sometimes I'm like happy with myself and sometimes I'm not. And I pull my bag out and I turn my pouch inside out, depending on where I want it. I have it on the inside of the bag right now. So on the inside of my bag, at the very bottom of my bag, in the very bottom of my bag, on the inside, I'll show it to you in the outside too though, I have my pouch that it goes into, and I can pull this shut, and whatever smaller items that I have, I can keep contained in the bottom of my pouch so they won't fall out. Or, this was really my vision, I can use this as the outside of my bag, right? And here's my little pouch here on the bottom, so that I have an easier access to it. And then I can actually just take this little pouch here at the bottom and put a clip on it that I can clip the end to the side of my bag. So I have to see how all that works out. So the pouch can either be on the outside, and I could put a clip on it where I could clip, and this will soften up, so this will soften up so that it will pull up. So I would have like the end of my little drawstring that I could put like my phone and stuff in on the outside, or I can flip it inside out, and that little pouch is hidden in the bottom of the inside of my bag. And I can still close it with my drawstring if I have a cord lock. So that was kind of my vision. So that I have like, not only do we have this pouch that we can stuff our bag into, but it then becomes a usable pouch while it's in the bag. Whether, you know, that just kind of sits in the bottom to hide things in the bottom, or whether you wanted it to be on the outside, and this was why I would put a cord lock on it, because if you wanted to be on the outside, nothing would fall out if you had a cord lock on it. And then I can just take like a clip and just clip my end, like clip my bag up to either the top or wherever I wanted it, and the mesh will just kind of stretch out the way it needs to. So that was kind of my vision. So I'm happy with that project. And then when you're done with your bag, you just open your little pouch. I find it goes in a little bit better if I pull out the corners first. I pull out my little pouch and I just shove it all back down in there. And because we made it a little bit bigger to actually make it into a pouch, it fits a little bit better. We have our little bag that we can carry our bag around in. Thank you, Cindy. Janie, I didn't see you. Thank you. So, if Samantha's still here, that was, you see, I have lots of room. Like, I can keep pulling this bag down. I've got room at the top, is what I'm trying to say. It fits in there more than adequately with the little extension on the top there. Yay! Just popped on. I'm good. Glad to see you, Janie. It seems like every time you're on, I miss you. And I never get to say hi. And then when I go back through to see like everybody that watched, I'm like, oh. So, you know, I do it to everybody. And so I will apologize. I try to catch everybody on here. Sometimes I manage, sometimes I can't. But, yeah, so that's our bag in a bag. So that'll be the last part. And I am really happy with that. I'm happy you sent me the idea too. I always like to take things and think, oh, what can I do with that idea? So when I saw that and I started to make it, like my brain just starts to go, well, what if I did this? What if I did this? What if you did this? Like, it's just a pouch, but how can we make the whole thing functional? So, yeah, it drives me crazy. It just never stops sometime. That's why I have too many projects. Yeah, so I'm glad you guys like that. I did not disappoint. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you guys, any of you guys ever have ideas or see something that you can't find a pattern to or that you want to make, send me those ideas, because I like being able to sit here and show you how I figure things out, because aside from the math, which I hate, I enjoy trying to figure things out, and I enjoy freehanding things and trying to see what I can make of something. So yeah, if you guys have any ideas, I think maybe next week I'll probably just do a stitch a day week, if that's okay with everybody. And tomorrow I'll probably just jump on and chatter. Good? Good. Yeah, so tomorrow I'll just jump on and chatter, and tomorrow's won't be uploaded to YouTube. It'll just be like chatter or whatever. And then next week I can't wait to show this one to my mother. She's going to be like, oh my God, where do you come up with these things? That's what she says to me. My sister will be like, oh, can I have one of those? Actually, my sister will sit there and ask me, did you put that in your shop yet? Did you put that in your shop yet? Thanks. This is actually Canadian Mom. I saw you on V's live. You were on V's live earlier. This is actually the freehand. The idea was to have a market bag that folded up into like a little pocket. So I took it a little bit further than it was. So when you pull this out, this is your market bag. You see I have the drawstring on it. So when you pull this all out, this is your market bag. And this turns inside out. So your whole bag comes off that square. And then whether you want it on the inside or the outside, the square itself is like a little drawstring bag inside your bag. So whether you wanted that on the bottom, on the inside, or whether you wanted it on the bottom, on the outside. And I'm going to put a cord lock on there, and I said I think I'm going to put a cord lock on there, and I think I'm going to put a clip at the end of my drawstring so I can clip it up onto my bag. So that way I can use my bag and my cord lock is on my little pouch on the outside that's more than big enough for like a cell phone and a wallet. And then when you're done with it, you just take it back inside out again and stuff the whole thing in it. This is going to be my flea market bag. I should sit here. It's going to take me forever. My sister's coming up on Saturday. I should put one together with her with colors that she'll like. I could whip one up by then. I could do that by Saturday. In colors that she likes. Because she loves to go to the flea market. That's like her thing. They all come up and go to the flea market. and I know she'll come up here with birthday presents, and she's coming up for my birthday, neither of which she has to do because that's just ridiculous. It's a 2-hour drive, but I don't mind. I mean, we make it all the time. This is where we used to vacation and camp as kids, and I was the crazy person that went, you know what? I'm moving there. And I picked the first piece of property that was closest to my mom's and said, I don't really care what it looks like, I'm leaving. And they're all back in Pittsburgh. And I'm up here by the lake, and I love it. So she comes up, she likes to go to the flea market. So this would be like the perfect little bag for her to go to the flea market with. So, on that note, like I need to start another project. I think I'm going to go dig out some colors that my sister will like, and I will start to make one of these for her. But in the meantime, if you've missed any of this project and you would, thank you. If you missed any of this project and you want to jump back and you want to watch it, I do have, it's part 1 and part 1.5 for the first part of the video because that was a little bit chaotic. Oh, I'm sure she will. So part 1 and part 1.5 are the first day's video, and then part 2, part 3, and this was part 4, which was the conclusion. And tomorrow, instead of teaching, I'm just going to chatter away and work on my sister's bag. And next week, we'll just pick a stitch a day. And we'll do stitch a day week again. Thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. I am. I'm going to start one for my sister. Yep, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a clip on the end of this so that you can pull it up and clip it to the bag somewhere, wherever you want to clip it to the bag. So even with the cord lock, then you got that little bit of extra. Nobody can grab your cord lock and pull it because it's actually has a clip on it that clips up there. So, and I do have some. I have so much stuff around here. My husband just rolls his eyes at me and goes, okay. Like yesterday when I was talking about making the glue swatches to see which glue held the rhinestones better, I like a backpack. You could certainly do this as a backpack. So to do this as a backpack, whichever way you wanted this, you would have to figure this out. So if you wanted this in the bottom, if you wanted your drawstring pouch in the bottom of the bag on the inside, you would start this way. If you wanted it on the bottom of the bag on the outside, you would start this way. And the only difference would be you would make the top of this like a drawstring. So when you were doing your rows around here, instead of making big handles like this, you would just go around it, right? You would like totally skip making handles. You would just do your edge around it. And then you could do your eyelet edge. And with your eyelet edge, you would put your drawstring around it. And then you would take your drawstring and you would then secure it down here somewhere, stitch it down here and somewhere. So you would then have a drawstring, and I do have a bag like that somewhere. I'm not real sure where I put it. But you would then have the drawstring that you could put this over your shoulder like this, or you could separate the two parts of your drawstring and put it on like a backpack. Yeah, this is crochet. I did not read the translation there, so I'm not really sure what. But that would be how you could take that and you could easily make it a backpack. Let's see if I can find the one I did real quick, because I think I just shoved it in my closet, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so this is like a really old one, but same principle. You have the top of your bag and you have your drawstring, and you would make your drawstring just long enough to go around the top of your bag and to the bottom of your bag. This one's a little bit long, and to the bottom of your bag. Should you use... Oh, got it. It's just acrylic. I'm just using acrylic. Worsted weight. So if you wanted to make this bag into a backpack, you could do that just by going around the top without the handles. So like around the top without handles. Make your eyelet row and put your drawstring in, and then you could either cinch it up and carry it like this, or you can separate the drawstrings and put it on like a backpack. And it would just hang and carry like a backpack. Oh, when it's small. You could do the same thing. You could do the exact same thing. If you had scrunched this up, you mean when it's collapsed inside itself. So when it's collapsed inside itself and you want to make it like a backpack, totally doable. You would just pretty much do the same thing. You would have to... So once you had this in there like this, you would make your drawstring so that it was... Obviously, you might have to make it a little bit longer, but you make your drawstring so it fit around the top, and then maybe measure it under your arms, and then secure it at the bottom here, so that when you pulled this up, the ends would be secured at the bottom, just like this. These ends are secured at the bottom. So these ends are secured at the bottom. I know it's pulled through uneven. Same way, you would just make these longer enough to fit over your shoulders so this could be secured at the bottom. And then you could just pull these apart to where it is like a backpack if you wanted to. That's how I would do backpacks. Yep, you can do that as well. You could actually add hardware to it. You could put like a little ring on the bottom of it. I have rings that are almost like carabiners. So you could put like a little ring on that and your clip on here so that you could clip that drawstring there so that you could use it like that. Good morning, Candace. So there's, you know, even more possibilities. Like I always say, if you can think it, you can probably do it. You just have to be willing to try and rip things apart and try again. Make things work. So that is that. I'm like, I feel... Okay, I have a YouTube channel. So my YouTube, and this is the playlist podcast, and how to make this bag is on that podcast. So this is where you would find how I made that bag. Thank you, Cindy. Same video. It will be this video, unedited, and I'll upload it to YouTube, and it will be the last in the series to finish making that bag. So if you want to take a screenshot, or if you just want to go there, that's where I have my all my tutorials that I do. I saw that. I'm trying to hit the translate as she goes through now that I'm just kind of talking. Thank you very much. You are welcome very much. All right, guys. And on that note, I guess I just give myself more work to do. Thank you for joining me, and I will probably see you guys later on tonight, depending on Mom. Definitely tomorrow morning, though. So, on that note, thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you guys all have an awesome day. I'm sorry if I missed acknowledging anybody that jumped in here. I try to catch all of you guys. Sometimes I miss you. Sometimes I see you. Norma, thank you very much. Candace, have a great day as well. Cindy, as always. Janie, as always. Trudy, Karen, if you're still here, all you guys. I will talk to you guys later.